Now looking at the most recent PG stats, win and pick rate chart, Byleth got moved exponentially different. He got a bit more of a pick rate, close to a 1.2 pick rate, but his win rate's gone down horrifically, all the way down to a 38% win rate, being the third lowest win rate character in Online Smash, only above Marth and Lucina respectively. Looking at the last list, Byleth had a horrible, lower than 0.5% pick rate, but a win rate of 51%, meaning that Byleth would win half the time that they were playing, which isn't bad all things considered, despite Ice Climber previously holding that top spot.
Now, despite that this chart doesn't hold much accountability for any actual Byleth win rate, this was PG Stats' order of who Byleth did good against online. And as shown, Byleth only had a consistent win rate on Rosalina, a character previously almost never seen online with a lower pick rate than random, and losing most of the matchups that any Byleth played in, including Marth and Lucina.
Now despite all that, as this tweet would say, many people still believe that Byleth is buffed online. And as this tweet also says, they just believe Byleth don't have a big player base, and that's why Byleth players don't do well. Either that they have low player base, or just bad players picking the character. The main belief of many Byleth haters saying that he's better online is that his Nair is incredibly broken. It's a multi-hit with a landing hitbox, and that of course makes it really good, especially in lag where reactions aren't that easy, and as such, many people hate playing against it. And more recently, thanks to the buff to side B, people think side B is unreactable in Nintendo's Wi-Fi. Now, although I was a bit more naive when I posted this was right before the Sephiroth patch, where I clearly stated, I don't want Byleth buffs. Of course, I did, but as I said, I don't want people picking up Byleth because he got better as a character. I want people to play Byleth for who he is/was. But in the Pyra/Mythra patch, I also popped off over Byleth buffs. The character got a little bit better, and as shown by the PG stats, more people started playing him. So what all did run into Byleth getting the third lowest win rate online? Was it new players trying to pick up the character similar to a Pyra/Mythra situation? Was it the player base just getting worse online? Is Byleth better or worse on Wi-Fi compared to offline? Well, I'm going to give my 2 cents in it. Even if I would believe Byleth is better offline, people could tell me otherwise. I don't know many of the Byleth players in the player base, just due to the lack of one we have. Our most notable names are MKLeo and Pelu Pelu, and that's 2. Which you could probably name 2 notable ice climbers, or 2 notable duck hunts, and they're actually winning. Now, of course, when looking at Byleth, you have to see the strengths and weaknesses of the character in general, not just what you think gets buffed by online or offline. Now, when anybody thinks of Byleth, they obviously remember Sakurai's very dated quote of the distance demon. And well, he is. Byleth still has an incredible ranged arsenal, with forward and back air being 2 of the big moves. And of course he has range on the sword attacks due to its chain-like structure. And thanks to the up air and up smash, anti-airing can never really be a problem on this character. A lot of the things that he can throw out will just outrange others. But when looking at things like speed, Byleth is one of the slower characters in the game, with a very bad ground speed and an almost even worse airspeed. The drift on this character is not great, but it does balance out with the range of his character. If Byleth was fast in the air and had that back air, things would be a little more messy. Now, kill power wise, Byleth can kill early. As I'm not going to deny, Byleth can kill you early, but it's when he gets past those early kill percentages that things become a struggle. If Byleths don't land their kill options, they can just struggle and have to land a raw hit. Things like F tilt and up tilt being some of the more consistent options, just due to their range, safety, and of course their kill power. But alongside this, other weaknesses Byleth has is he is of course slower, and as such, camping. People can run away from Byleth and expose his horrible speed quite well. Playing advantage can be in Byleth's favor due to his actual good advantage, but if he gets put in disadvantage, getting out can be a struggle. His slow fall speed means the landing can sometimes be a detriment to his playstyle. You have to play around being this slow, and the range should be the factor, but what about close range scraps? Byleth can sometimes struggle with those. And of course his recovery, although great because his tether is the best of the tether recoveries, it is still a tether, and if you interrupt the tether, you could just get a kill off stage. Byleth has great normals. Things like down tilt, F tilt, up tilt, nair, jab, and of course his aerials just in general, besides maybe down air, but even then it has its uses. Byleth's normals are pretty darn good. When we get to specials though, that's when sometimes things can be a bit questionable. Byleth neutral special is a good tech chase neutral special. It's quite slow even without the fully charged version, and as such sometimes hitting an opponent with it is a little difficult, and projectile characters don't have to worry too much about it, just due to being able to just jump above it. Byleth's arrow is incredibly linear, and as such, to avoid it, some characters don't even have to try. I've seen characters duck under it by throwing out moves, and as such, dodging the arrow can be pretty easy, and Byleths tend to use it instead as a get off the ledge option to get opponents off when they're going for a ledge trap when Byleths are off stage, and as tech chases when they send them into early situations with their nair. And then the down special is pretty much unusable. The only time you will see Byleth throw out down specials is when they're either that confident they're gonna win, or they've landed a shield break. Up special is an amazing tool, I can't lie, up special is a DLC move. When we're looking at things that Byleth has that's really good, up special is one of those. A combo move that, although not true all the time and doesn't always lead into anything you want, it does send Byleth at a good range, and when you get him to above 50, it becomes one of the better anti-edgeguard tools. Byleths tend to use it off the ledge as well, as a mix-up when getting off ledge against an opponent, as it spikes around 50%, and it's a really strong spike, and they buffed it, meaning the spike kills a lot earlier now. This also leads into good read situations, good juggle situations, and so Byleths tend to use that a lot. And it's also, once again, the best of the tether recoveries, having the longest reach without the little hop after it, and as such it makes it an incredibly broken move. Now once again, some of the weaknesses of Byleth when it comes to his speed comes into play with characters like Min Min or Sonic, the main Wi-Fi demons. Byleth can't keep up with them. Now sure, he has a decent range, one of the better ranges in the game, but once again, if you just run away and camp him, Byleth can struggle with getting in tremendously. And although we try to use the arrow as much as we can in these matchups, Min Min has a reflector. Sonic can just jump over it. And with their incredible speeds, they typically don't have to worry too much about it. And I know I didn't talk about the side B when explaining all the other specials, but that's just because side B is the most controversial at the moment. And I wanted to show gameplay of both winning and the bad matchups that I'm talking about. But when explaining the side B, Byleth's side B got buffed in the patch. It is now faster in the air, with less end lag in general, and it just makes it a lot more difficult for me to fully determine the Wi-Fi value of it, because I still don't think it's an incredible Wi-Fi move. I think that people can literally hold the shield button and just avoid it. Now, it does have good range. Byleth side B does have good range, and once again, it's not a bad move per se. Hell, I'm definitely not going to say it's a bad move. It's one of our best stall tools. But when looking at it, it is only good as a spaced ground tool, especially now that it's a lot safer on shield. But if you just throw the move out willy-nilly, you're bound to get punished for it. It's like an F smash, you have to space it to try and make the move safe. And as such, it's typically not used. Not many Byleths want to space the move, not many think they have to. And it's a common misconception that it's just unreactable, when many can just hold shield to avoid. And of course, if you have the speed, you're typically going to get a punish on a Byleth if they use this move. And if you have the range, you probably wouldn't have to worry about the move in the first place. And as such, that's why I put those opinions out there. But back to more matchup spread, Wi-Fi characters typically just beat Byleth. The main Wi-Fi characters at the moment that are flying around are Steve, of course, and Min Min, and I don't think Byleth does truly bad versus Steve. It's just a matter of who plays against them. Now, everything I say could be wrong. Byleth might get worse when he gets offline. Potentially I'm underrating the character. But Wi-Fi characters typically have a lot going for him. Byleth, I only ever see complaints on his Nair being a multi-hit and his side B being unreactable. Other than that, I don't see people come up with better reasons as to why Byleth's a buffed character. His range is good, don't get me wrong, but I don't think range alone makes you a good Wi-Fi character. And his speed is atrocious, and like most Fire Emblem characters, I believe Byleth runs more on reactionary gameplay. If Marth and Lucina require those reads to do it, Byleth does need quite a few reads to actually beat his opponent. And a lot of the time, reading somebody on Wi-Fi doesn't mean you're getting your punish. And a lot more of the time, it just means you're going to get punished for throwing out a move instead. Characters that can whiff and not have to worry about it, like Ness or like Bowser, they don't worry too much because they can throw out another option, or they have some other mechanic going for them that makes throwing out options much safer. And now Byleth doesn't have a irredeemable amount of end lag on his moves. Hell, after a while I started thinking that his end lag was honestly good on his moves. But still, on characters that mash, Byleth has to play a lot more reactionary and patient. But on characters that can just camp him, Byleth has to play a lot more careful. And once again, having a pretty unreliable projectile doesn't make things any easier on him. As such, I truly do think Byleth gets a little worse online, and could explain a lot more of his lower standings. And although I still do have hope for the Byleth community in general, and I do believe that we can do a lot better, until we do, I'm not going to start believing everybody saying something. Now, it is their opinion, everybody is entitled to it. Hell, this video's kind of opinionated. But I still am not going to agree with people saying that Byleth is a good Wi-Fi character until we start showing not only the results to prove it, but they have more of a reason than just he's got a landing there with the landing hitbox that's hard to react to, and side B can be hard to react to when the move is frame 20. Now thank you for watching, and goodbye.